You could see how the Torah is really giving life and giving liberty and not bondage like the Prushim, the Pharisees, who have turned it into bondage. Are we on?
Yes.
Very simple. There's one covenant. Listen carefully. From Adam to this Yom Teruah, there's one covenant, and all who enter through Yeshua are renewing the covenant, because Revelation, Gilead 14:12 says, they have the testimony of Yeshua and the mitzvot of Yeshua.
Amen.
They have the testimony and the commandments. So that's the simplicity of the ages. One covenant renewed as Yahweh sees fit. Get out of your dispensational mindset. It is not of Yahweh. You don't know the weather tomorrow. You and I don't know the difference between 1 month, 1 day, unless we have a calendar. How are we going to take Yahweh's eternity and divide it into different sections? Well, that was the age of grace. Then began the age of innocence. Oh, I'm sorry, it was first the age of innocence, then the age of grace, then the age of judgment, Noah, then the age of the Jews. Sorry, the Jews didn't come out of Egypt. Israel came out of Egypt.
Amen.
Then, those Jews killed Christ, so now there's a new age. What's the new age? The church age. Really? So when does that end? Oh, it doesn't end, brother. They just get raptured. And when they're raptured, then the Jews come back into focus. Yahweh puts his bifocals back on and starts dealing with the Jews. Now, are you the same person that doesn't know what tomorrow brings? Are you the same person that doesn't even remember your anniversary? And here you are going to be telling Yahweh when one age of mankind begins and another ends? You've got to be kidding me. This is a bad joke. How about this? How about if you stop looking for prophetic words that contradict the word of Yahweh? How about if you stop looking for prophets who are prophesying from their own heart, from their own tongue, from their own flesh?
Uh-oh.
How about if you start looking for prophets who will say, thus saith Moshe, and thus saith Yeshua, for they spoke the same word?
Amen.
Same word.
How about if we start looking for prophets who speak the words of Yeshua and Moshe because they are the same word? How about looking for prophets and messengers who will speak the same word that Moshe spoke, that Yeshua renewed, and is willing to renew in your life as you submit to Yahweh? Come on. Isn't that a little bit easier than following all these man-made ideas? There's one covenant. And every time I do righteousness and I follow the Torah and the teachings of Yeshua, what are the teachings of Yeshua? They're taught me how to implement the Torah. They're given to teach me how to implement the Torah. They're not contradicting the Torah. In other words, Moshe didn't keep Pesach and Yeshua kept Christmas. Moshe didn't keep Shavuot and Yeshua kept the Valentine's Day. We don't have that. We don't have that schizophrenia unless we belong to a religious sect.
Yeah.
People look at us and go, I love that Miami Beach Israel revival. The only problem is they're a cult. You see how brainwashed you've been, honey? If you think we're a cult, you know what that proves? That you come from a cultish background. Because in that background, Moses contradicts Yeshua. The father gave the Torah to the Jews, but then he realized he made a mistake because no one can keep the Torah, so he sent his son to get rid of the father's mistake. And now the father and son don't talk to each other, and they don't get along because the father chose Israel as his bride, and Jesus Christus, chose the church as his bride, so they don't much get along these days. Matter of fact, they're living in the same apartment. They don't talk to each other. Well, that's what we used to believe. And the new covenant replaced the old covenant. Yeshua's will replaced the father's will. The father got old, he got gray, he thought it was time to cash in on his workman's comp, and he let the son take over. You know why you're laughing? Because you're laughing at your own error.
That's right.
That's where we all came from.
I did it. I told it.
That was the background, the experience that we all had.
That's right.
So Yahweh tells us on this Yom Teruah, this day of covenant renewal, Yahweh says, look, let's get a few things straight. If you're going to live a life that's pleasing to me, you're going to have the one assembly that began with Adam v'Chava, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. When Adam v'Chava walked with Yahweh in the cool of the day, I was there in the midst of them in the garden, walking in the cool of the day. Because 2 or 3 were gathered in his name. Well, brother, I don't know if Adam and Eve knew the Lord's real name. I don't know. Really? You don't know? Well, how come Sheth, Adam's grandson, called on the name of Yahweh? Yeah, his son, I'm sorry. How come? How come he called on the name of Yahweh unless he had a revelation from his parents or instruction from his parents? So, when we come to righteousness and we renew the covenant by walking between the pieces, heaven and earth, it is as if every human being on Yom Teruah is given another chance to walk between the pieces, the blood covenant of Yeshua, the broken body of Yeshua, the pieces, and to eat his flesh, so that he gave his flesh, we receive his flesh, and we walk between the pieces, and we come out of a mindset that says, who can we turn on this week? Who's going to bring us up to the Shemayim and bring down the word? Who's going to hear from heaven this week? How about this as a radical idea? How about if from now on, no one hears from heaven, and we go back to thus it is written, and thus it is recorded, and thus it is said. Then you won't wind up believing that Allah is great, and in order to prove his greatness as the crescent moon deity, he sends his followers to kill children, because the more children Allah gets killed, the greater he is. And how about the plan of evangelism? Don't you love the Muslim plan of evangelism?
Yeah.
You either accept Allah and his prophet Muhammad, or you die. So if you kill everybody that doesn't believe, you're left with a remnant believing community. How do we get left with a remnant believing community? Very simple. Anybody that refuses to believe, you kill them. How does this stuff happen? And it's the same thing in the church. Fly away. Who's flying away? Not everybody. Not everybody's flying away. You've got to have your own set of approved wings. Well, how does that happen? Well, have you been eating enough pork? Have you been violating enough Shabbat? Have you been following the pastor who hasn't preached? The only time they'll preach from the Tanakh is when they want to show types and shadows of Christ.
Oh, yeah.
You know, anytime you want to show a type of Christ, go to Leviticus. Or show a type. What type? In other words, they'll use the Tanakh to show a type. But they won't use the Tanakh to say, if you turn with all your heart and live this like Moshe did, like Yisrael used to live, you'll have the benefits that they had.
Can't do
So
it.
instead, we're looking, some believers are looking to fly away.
Help with doctrine.
How did that happen? Because we did not renew the covenant Yahweh's way. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yahweh.
So Yahshua came to renew the covenant with us personally, because as a nation we weren't doing too well, in case you hadn't noticed. All we like sheep have gone astray, turned everyone to his own way. Yahweh has laid on him the iniquity of us all and brought us all back to him, because we weren't doing too well. Let's be honest.
So me.
So Yeshua didn't come to establish a new synagogue, because you know those Jews, they belong to the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah.
So he had to make a new synagogue that wasn't of Satan. Well, and a new synagogue that's not of Satan does the same thing Satan does, rebels against Yahweh's word.
Right.
So now we're really stuck. We have the old synagogue of Satan,
Yeah.
i.e. the Jews, and the new synagogue of Satan, the church. Now we're really in trouble.
Yeah. And they serve ham and eggs for breakfast.
That can't be true. That can't be true. So what is true? It is called covenant renewal. So that neither the Jews or the Christians are the synagogue of Satan. Those who are trying to look for messengers and prophets and apostles to pull down the word of Yahweh, when Yahweh says, I've put it close to you, I've put it near to you, and if you want to be pleasing to me, look for where that word that I've left you, look for it, find it. Because you won't have to look far. It's near you. It's not overseas. It's close to you. It's near you. It's not far from you.
Come on.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yeah.
Now the C in verse 13, look at this, look at verse 13. Now I'm not saying I don't believe in prophecy, but the prophecy better line up with Bereshit to Gileanah. It better not contradict anything Moses wrote, because as soon as it contradicts anything Moshe wrote, it automatically contradicts what Yeshua wrote. Is this making sense? Hello? Make sense?
Yeah.
So look at verse 13. Crystal clear? That's tough. That's tough. Neither is it beyond the sea that you who are looking for covenant renewal. Yom Teruah is the day when all Israel individually passes before Yahweh and walks through the pieces. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who shall we send overseas? We heard there's a revival in Nigeria. What are they doing that we're not? We heard there's a revival in Ethiopia or in Korea. What are they doing that we're not? So then we start sending people overseas to try to bring us the right way to live. Am I talking to anybody here?
Hallelujah.
Baruch Hashem.
Yahweh says, no, it's not overseas. And here's the shocker, it's not even in heaven. The Torah is not being stored in heaven. Now in heaven you'll find the Lamb. In heaven you'll find the tabernacle pitched without hands, but you won't find the Torah. Torah's not in heaven. Torah hasn't been in heaven for thousands of years. The Torah is near you, very near, and it's not overseas. What is the sea? What are the seas in Scripture? The seas are is a metaphor for the nations. Correct. The sea is a metaphor for the nations. Meaning, when Yahweh says in verse 13, don't go overseas and look for someone or something or some messenger to bring it to you. You know why? Because the seas are full of what? The nations. The nations are a metaphor for the nations. The original way to say nations, the Goyim, the Gentiles. Because in those nations or in the seas or overseas are found only the legends of humanity, not the truth of Yahweh's word. Does that make sense? If you're going to go look for Yahweh's truth overseas, a type of the Gentiles or the Goyim, you're going to have to cross. You're going to have to cross the sea to get there. So that in your search for truth, you're going to have to go over the filth and the error and the doctrinal mess made by the nations, typified metaphorically by the sea. Make sense?
Yes.
You're going to have to cross over the sea, aren't you? In those days, there were no planes. So those who were looking for a way to walk with Yahweh or a way to renew the covenant with Yahweh, what were they doing? They were crossing the seas. Metaphorically, that means they were indulging in Gentile or pagan legends by going themselves, sending ambassadors or delegates overseas to look for renewal of covenant. But rather than inheriting renewal of covenant, what did they wind up inheriting? An expansion of their confusion. Hello? Before you came to the truth of Nazarene Israel, weren't you confused?
Yeah.
Weren't you messed up?
Yeah.
I was so messed up that I thought the Jewish Sabbath was Saturday and the Christian Sabbath was Sunday. Then I started reading the Torah and found out there's no such thing as the Jewish Sabbath or the Christian Sabbath. There's Yahweh Shabbat, because the Christians didn't rest on the seventh day. Yahweh did.
Amen.
Amen.
But how did that end? When I stopped going overseas and crossing the sea of religion, tradition, and legend, looking for the truth.
Right.
Stop looking for the truth. Here's a word of wisdom. Chokhmah.
Okay.
Stop looking for the truth when you have the truth.
Yeah.
We've got the truth. The blood and the commandments, because when Moshe took the scroll of the Torah and gave it to our fathers Israel, he cut the animal, he took the blood, he sprinkled it on the scroll of the covenant, and he walked between the pieces.
Yeah.
And that's what Yahweh wants you to do on Yom Teruah today. Turn to your neighbor and say today.
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 Hayom.
All your troubles will seem far away,
Hayom.
for I believe in today. Now what are we to believe for today? That we must stop traveling the seas, the oceans. Because in order to look for someone to pull that Torah back into our life, we think we want to be spiritual. All of us want to be spiritual. So we've got to somehow cross the seas to find out where the latest craze is or fad is taking place.
Yeah.
We wind up at the David Yogi Cho's door. Or we wind up at someone else's door. Or we wind up, forbid in Toronto, cackling like hens. Can that happen to you? Of course it can. If you and I forsake the Torah and we are looking for a fresh word from heaven, or overseas and someone tells us it's happening in a particular point, in a particular place, we go there.
Yeah.
Or if we don't go there, we'll order tapes from there. That's the same as crossing the seas and bringing the word back. Yahweh says, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Rewrite the Torah.
The Torah is not even in heaven. What makes you think the way to walk is going to be found in Korea or in a cell group revival or any other era? It's not even in heaven. What are you, serious? I'm getting some holy looks. That's okay. I'll take that as a compliment.
That means you're milking the.
I mean, if I'm going to pull out any Torah, any guide to live, any guide to make covenant renewal, I'm going to do it through the real Torah. So I figure the real Torah is in heaven. Where else would it be? Yahweh says, Yahweh says, wrong. It's not in heaven. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Now look at verse 14.
What happens when you milk it?
But the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your lave. Why? Why did Yahweh put it in our peh and in our lave? Why? So we can study our Jewish roots, right?
No.
So we could be under legalism, right?
No.
Watch this. So that we can do it. Well, hold it, Yahweh. I was taught that no one can do the Torah. Yahweh said, I know that's why you were taught, and that's why I'm not telling you to go to heaven to get it. If I put it inside of you, do you believe it's for today?
Yes.
If I put it inside of you, if I implant the word of Yahweh and I engraft it, and it's able to save your soul and keep you walking on the straight and narrow path to Zion. If I save you and disciple you with the engrafted word, will you believe it's for today?
Come on.
So we have a whole bunch of folks, well, I don't believe the law is for today. Yahweh says, okay, I engrafted it inside of your heart and inside the roof and the housing of your tongue. So no one can say it's not for today. What a wise father.
Yeah.
What a wise Abba Sheba Shemayim.
Yes.
He says, for all those who walk around thinking the Torah is not for today, you can't deny yourself. Because it's in your heart and it's in your mouth. Is it for today? If you've eaten and opened your mouth, it's for today.
Yes. For today.
Come on. You have to admit
If
it.
you said good morning or you said hello to somebody, it's for today. Why? Because the Torah is in your heart and in your mouth.
That's right.
This is teaching, Yahweh is teaching, that the renewal of the covenant, listen, is in our minds and our hearts because it is established there, not in heaven, and that we as Talmidim of Israel, listen, are not to search for any revelation outside the boundaries of Torah, including emotions. The Torah and the Word of Yahweh was not meant to stay or to be searched for in heaven by those removed from earthly existence or normality. Hello? Those in monks, those in what, religious convocations, what do they call those? Convents. The Torah is not for them. It's for real people living in a really mixed up world with a sea of legends and traditions, the vain conversation of our fathers who were not redeemed by the precious blood of Yeshua and didn't walk according to his words, which are Moshe's words. Because Yeshua came to bring Moshe's words, so we believe it was for us, for now, for today.
Yeah.
That's why Yeshua came.
Yes.
So we would believe that Moshe's words were for us not just to hear them, not just to study them, but to do them.
Yes.
And in doing them, you have your blessing.
Yes.
Amen.
And in doing them, you're set free.
Yes.
Amen.
And in doing them, you'll stop sending yourself and others overseas to a new tradition, a new legend, a new myth. And instead, you'll say, Father, I'm not going. I'm going back, and I'm going to renew the covenant with you. I'm going to walk between the pieces today. This is Yom Teruah. I'm going to renew my covenant with my friends, with my brothers, with my sisters, and with you, Yahweh. And I'm going to walk between the pieces of a broken life, the pieces of a shattered life, but more importantly, the pieces of heaven and earth that still record your actions this day.
Amen.
Amen.
Write it down.
Hello?
Yeah.
Heaven and earth are the pieces through which Yahweh wants you to walk, but He gives you the Torah so you don't get sidetracked. If you don't want to follow Yahweh's eternal Torah, good luck. You're going to need it. And if you don't believe in luck, like Christians say we don't believe in luck, you better start believing in luck. You better start real soon believing in luck, because you're going to need it. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yahweh.
So, Yahweh says, look, I've put it in your heart, I've put it in your mind, I've renewed it through Yeshua, now do it. We may hear it, and so that we may do it. Why do we ask Yeshua in our heart? According to Devarim 30:14. Forget about what your old religion said. Why do we ask Yeshua into our heart? So He would be our Savior, and we would get to do what He did. That's what the Word said. Not to study the Jewish stuff. Well, I'm here today, Rabbi. I figured I'd check it out. I'd take off from work. I just want to check it out. Sweetheart, this isn't Publix. This is not a checkout counter. This is a factory and a molding factory for the righteous. I used to be this, I'm no longer that. I used to do that, I no longer do that. I used to believe my pastor. Now I check it out and say, Pastor, are your words Yeshua's words, which are Moshe's words? Have you caused me to walk between the pieces? Or have you caused me to keep sending for prophetic messengers, trying to pull down new Torahs from heaven and winding up with all kind of weird doctrine? And the extreme example of that is Muhammad's new Torah, because that's what the Quran is. It's a new Torah.
Yeah, I had a whole drawer of hankies.
Oh, you wind up with Joseph Smith. Okay, or Brigham Young, the Book of Mormoni Bologna. Okay, Mormoni Bologna. The angel Mormoni appeared to Joseph Smith and showed him where the plates were. Very nice. Now let's go to the scriptures and let's look for the angel Mormoni. Can't find it. I can find something about Moroni. People who don't obey the Torah are called Moronis, but I can't find the angel Moroni. Really, you can't find it? Well, that must mean that Joseph Smith was sent by someone or by himself to pull down a Torah. And Yahweh says, now I'm pleading with you, child of Yahweh, stop sending me folks to get fresh words, fresh revelations, fresh understanding when you won't even do Genesis chapter 2. You won't even humble yourself. Give me 4 more juice. You won't even humble yourself to do Genesis chapter 2 and rest when the Heavenly Father rested, and you're sending prophets and messengers to pull down fresh new revelation. It's getting quiet now. Yahweh says no. He says, Yisrael, I have called you to renew what your fathers left behind. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. The Torah, listen, was never meant to stay in heaven. What a relief.
Really?
When I start going wayward and I start going sideways and I start questioning what I was taught in those other religious systems, I don't have to send a prophet who's looking for self-promotion or self-acknowledgement or fame or fortune. Yahweh says I'll find the answer close to me, very near to me.
Yeah, come on.
Does this make sense?
Yes.
Am I making sense now?
Yes. Baruch Hashem Yah.
The Torah was given to human beings who live in the real world, who struggle with real issues, who like to eat bacon but are told not to, who like to eat pork or like to eat lobster or like to celebrate Christmas, and they've lost their family over it. And the Torah tells you why and how to overcome it and how to have victory over it. So the Torah is designed for people, real people who struggle with real issues, who live in the real world. It gives you practical, real answers. It's not a pie-in-the-sky type thing that we're trying to pull down something that's never been revealed before. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yahweh.
The Torah, listen, does not demand that people, that believers, act in an unnatural manner, to live as ascetics or in isolation, just so they can be sanctified. Wow, world. You know a lot of folks who live in isolation? Well, I don't belong to a congregation. Why not? Well, because I just have a personal, I do better with Yahweh alone. See, that's deception. Yahweh has given us the Torah to show that we don't have to be aesthetic. We don't have to live in isolation. We can live by His principles, so that the Torah is designed to make our life a testimony of health, body, soul, and spirit.
Amen.
Hello?
Come on.
Etz Chaim hi lemachazikim ba.
Amen.
It is a tree of life to those who
Keep it.
find it. You're only going to find it on the earth. Why? All the heavenly messengers don't need the Torah. They get their guidance from Yeshua. All those who have been gone to glory before us, and they're in the heavenlies, they don't need the Torah, because they look at the face of the Lamb and they get His guidance directly from Him.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
So Yahweh says, I put the Torah on earth, and I put it very near to you, so that when you need it, you can access it and you can apply it.
Amen.
Come on.
The blessing and the victory is in applying the Torah.
Yes.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Those who find it will find it where?
Near.
Right here on earth. How did you find the truth?
Here.
Were you raptured and then you met Rabbi Moshe in heaven?
No.
Where did you find the truth?
Yes.
On earth. How did that happen? Because Yahweh designed it that this Torah would be found on earth.
Yeah.
Well, Rabbi Hall, now you got me. I'm with you so far. Well, you're talking about the Torah. You're not talking about Yeshua. Wrong. Yeshua is the living Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
You can't separate the living from the written. That's why we know Yeshua came not with His words, but with the Father's words. He said, I do nothing but the Father tell me. I speak nothing but the Father instruct me. So the Father tells Him what to say. And we all believe, as every good Christian knows, that the Father gave the Torah to Israel, or so they think. So if the Father tells Yeshua what to say, the Father must be telling Yeshua to tell us the Torah. So that the living Torah can never contradict the written Torah.
Amen.
So that when we open the Ark on Shabbat, you know what we're saying? Devarim 30, 10 through 15. Devarim 30, 10 through 15. It's near to us. It's very near. You're having problems. You're having problems. You're having issues. You're having difficulties. Here it is. Let's bring it out today. Let's walk it around today.
Amen.
Let's have it in our presence today. More than that, we're going to kiss the Torah. Watch. Watch me. Now watch carefully for all you returning Ephraimites who think that this is the Jewish version of rosary beads. Watch me very carefully. Now, the unregenerate mind will say this is idolatry. We're worshiping a cabinet. Sweetheart, please, don't confuse me with Tina Turner. I'm not an Icho Shoshin Buddhist. Thank you. I don't need boxes and incense to worship Yahweh. Well, why do I kiss the Torah? Psalm 2:12 tells me, kiss the Son, lest He be angry, and you perish in the way. Blessed are all they who put their trust in Him. In whom? In the Son, the living Word.
Amen.
Nashkubar, kiss the Son. So when we kiss the Torah, we're saying the living Torah equals the written Torah. And if you find a man of God who tells you that Jesus taught something different than his father gave to the covenant, eternal covenant bride of Israel, find yourself a new preacher. Don't trade in the Torah for grace, but trade in that old preacher for a new one that doesn't have to run every Sunday to pull something fresh down from heaven, but willing to tell you what is written, because we can barely do what is written, and here we are looking for things that haven't been recorded and haven't been written and haven't been revealed to us, and we can't get it, so we send other religious folks and they try to get them to go get it for us.
Right.
Because we can't even do what has already been shown us to do. So in essence, what is that? Pride. I won't do what's been shown to us to do, but I will do something if it's new and fresh from Yahweh. If it's new, if it's fresh, if it's an utterance in tongues, if it's a personal word, oh master, go to the tire store, get thee four Firestone good one. For I have given it to you as my gift. Really? 4 new Firestone tires, Father? 4? My friend only got 2. And you're giving me, what a word. Whoa, baby, what a word.
$500 worth of
But
time.
there's only one problem. It's Saturday. It's Shabbat. Now wait a second. Gold done told me to buy 4 tires. Yahweh told me, don't violate the Shabbat by doing merchandising on Shabbat. Well, let me pray about that one. Let's see who's right. Gold or Yahweh? Someone's wrong. And if you think Yeshua came to violate the Shabbat, then you need to read Lucas 4:16. Yeshua, as was his custom, entered the Shabbat to worship.
Amen.
Not to advertise he's the Mashiach. He was a worshiper.
Amen.
He entered the synagogue to worship. Make sense? Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So the Torah does not demand, I'm talking about renewing the covenant. Torah does not demand that we act weird or unusual or unnatural, aesthetically, removed from society, removed from reality. Who haven't I insulted today? For instance, the ganja man and the Rastafarians. Well, leave me alone, I'm getting revelation. What revelation is that? I'll tell you when I'm finished. Oh, yeah.
You ain't right.
Whoa, whoa. What? Oh, new revelation?
Oh, my.
Yes. Well, in other words, I can't get pulled a word, a spiritual word. I can't receive a spiritual word unless I first indulge in the ganja. When I'm finished with ganja, then the Lord's going to speak to me. So what's happening there? We are having behaviors that are looking for what? Revelation and insight and spirituality apart from Yahweh's truth. What is Yahweh's truth? It's in here. It's in here. You're not sure it's in there? Then it's over here. I can walk in the Spirit as easy as you can. How do I walk in the Spirit? By doing the Word.
Amen.
So Christianity goes, brother, are you walking in the Spirit? Holy gala, holy gala, holy gala, holy. Of course I'm walking holy gala. Well, I didn't ask you if you were holy gala. I asked you if you're walking in the Spirit. You know what the answer, if they were being honest, you know what the answer is? Can't tell. Why? Because you believe the Torah has been nailed to the cross. The Torah is the book that tells you if your life is lining up and producing fruit for Yahweh.
Amen.
If you're stealing, if you're lying, if you're in fornication, whatever your life is, you're not producing fruit for Yahweh, you're violating the Torah. And if you're violating the Torah, how can you be walking in the Spirit? So religion, that water that we have, that we all crossed overseas, that water, the sea of the nations, remember I was telling you, don't say who shall cross the sea, remember? So when we cross the sea, what do we get? What do we get? Confusion. More confusion, or an expansion on our lack of understanding. Because we're trying to cross the seas that are a type of all the pagan and Gentile religions. Make sense?
Yeah.
How much revelation are we going to get overseas?
Yeah.
Not unless they're preaching what Moshe and Yeshua preached. Right?
Dead Sea.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I said Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yeah.
So the Torah was given to real human beings who in order to produce the fruits of the Ruach, must live according to the guidelines of the Ruach.